fight one of them, you fight all of them. Hey.
What's cracking, G? It's your boy Koopa. You already know my channel about love, life, and loyalty. And I got a little information piece, a little informative piece for y'all today. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Like, comment, subscribe. The story being told today is 100% true, and so are the events leading up to said events. July 5th, 2016, an 18-year-old Illinois man was arrested on one count of murder in Elkhart, Indiana. June 23rd, 2016, Elkhart police were dispatched to a house in the 200 block of West Garfield Avenue in Elkhart, Indiana. When officers arrived, they found the front door open to one of the apartments, and police searched the residence and found 24-year-old Brandon Jackson with multiple gunshot wounds. Jackson was shortly pronounced dead at the scene. 13 days later, 18-year-old Tyrell was taken into custody by Elkhart police and held without bond. At the time of his arrest, Beavers was on probation for a theft incident on Rufus Drill, located on the far west side of Joliet, Illinois, in 2015. Shortly after Beavers was apprehended and charged, his 4 co-defendants were arrested as well in Elkhart: 15-year-old Keyshawn Chu, 18-year-old Jumanji White, 21-year-old Denisha Sorrell, 19-year-old Shayla Southern were all charged with the death of Jackson. Now that we had a main event laid down, I have to rewind back to May 30th, 2016. Tyrell and I were at my homie Lavelle's house, kicking it back, trying to find something to do. A few moments later, Tyrell explained to me that Joe Mungie, aka Joe White, said there was a lot of moves down in Elkhart and we should drive down there. I told Tyrell no, and he kept trying to convince me. He said Elkhart would be a fun trip. I was not concerned with leaving Illinois. A week goes by and I receive a message from Tyrell on Facebook. Hey bro, you need to come down here. Joe wasn't lying. I still stuck to how I felt and said no. 2 weeks later, Tyrell called my phone, sounded like something went wrong, but he wouldn't say. He only kept repeating, bro, can you come get me? Please. JoJo said he not driving all the way down here. I explained to him my car at the time was an 87 Ford Tempo Gel and shouldn't be trusted on a 2-hour drive. Tyrell said aye and hung up, but who would have thought I would be regretting not picking him up. A few weeks later, in July 4th, 10 p.m., my guys and I were getting teed up playing UFC on my bro's game system. The night was cool, but we knew and we all wished that Tyrell would have made it back home. On the morning of July 5th, I received a message from David Crowley. Hey, I know you and him are tight, so I thought you should know. Under the message was a report stating Tyrell had been picked up for murder. I showed my guys the report, and now everyone knew why he was calling demanding a ride home. As time went on, we all went day by day wondering what was to come. October 12, 2017, Judge Michael Crispino handed down his judgment on 5 people arrested in Jackson's murder. 15-year-old Keyshawn Chu was given a plea deal that would drop the murder charge and receive a conviction of robbery resulting in seriously bodily injury with a deadly weapon. Keyshawn was charged with a second-degree robbery because he and Joe White robbed a First Source Bank located in 2020 East Bristol Street in Elkhart 27 days after the murder of Brandon Jackson. Chu was sentenced to 17 years plus 12 years in the DLC, equaling out 30 years, but with a suspended sentence of 5 years, equaling out to 25 years in the DLC and 5 years on probation upon release. Before Chu can leave the courtroom, the judge told Chu that he would have to do 75 hours of community service. Chu was credited 331 days jail time completed and eligible for good time credit. The other charge of robbery was set to 10 years, and the judge suspended it, giving the young man 25 years in the DOC and 15 years probation upon release. During the sentence, Jackson's mother gave a victim impact statement. It has ruined my life. When he was killed, a part of me was killed. I want to know if it all was worth it. Several bags of marijuana. I have hate in my heart. I pray God take it away. While you in there, I hope you realize the lives that you have ruined. Chu's immediate cooperation with the police led to the arrest of his 4 co-defendants. Prosecutor Becker cryptically said, there is a sixth. Jumanji White accepted a similar plea agreement, which was a sentence of 30 years in the DOC and 75 hours community service for his part in the robbery. Joe White had fled from Elkhart to Alabama after the bank robbery and was later apprehended thanks to the cooperation of Keyshawn. Tyrell was sentenced to 3 years in DOC and 7 years on probation on charges of robbery while armed with a deadly weapon. She admitted to driving her 4 co-defendants to Jackson's home and commit a robbery. Judge Cristofino told Tyrell she was lucky they dropped the murder charge, which would have carried a 45-year minimum sentence. 19-year-old Shayla Southern was sentenced to 14 years in the DOC in her role for the murder of Brandon Jackson. A part of her plea agreement, murder was off the table and Southern accepted a charge of armed robbery without any other stipulations compared to her co-defendants. Tyrell Beavers was sentenced to 45 years in the DOC and was convicted of murder. The article stated Beavers and his co-defendants intended to rob Jackson. When he went for his own gun, Beavers shot him multiple times. The case may be over with, but I was well connected enough to find out more than what was reported. The night before the murder, Jumanji, Shayla, Danisha, and Keyshawn, and an unknown 6th person drank and drew up a plan how they was going to rob Brandon Jackson. Joe White had been good friends with Jackson months leading up to Tyrell relocating to Elkhart. So he told the crew how Jackson's apartment was a known trap, holding a lot of cash and pounds of marijuana. The crew knew of Tyrell's past robbery situation of 2015, so they all said that Tyrell should be the one to use the .45 that Jumanji purchased weeks ago to stick up Jackson, while the rest of them ransacked the apartment. Tyrell, feeling as a leader, thought it was a prideful moment, not realizing the 5 who know Elkhart and the people in it were setting Tyrell up to take the fall if anyone was caught. The crew purposely had Tyrell load the gun, ensuring his fingerprints would expose him as someone who actually did the robbery. The night of the robbery, Shayla befriended Jackson into letting her into the apartment. The other 5 co-defendants were drunk and loud walking towards the apartment. A neighbor whose statement was sealed stated she turned her porch light off and watched a group of 5 surround the apartment. A taller one with the Bulls hoodie walked up to the door. The taller one, who the witness and police believed to be Tyrell, knocked on the door. My sources say Jackson was on the couch when he heard the knock. He was weirded out because usually when people need product, they call his phone. As Jackson walked to the door, Shayla takes Jackson's gun and hid it. Jackson opened the door and saw a gun pointed at him. Jackson turned around and ran for his gun, which was no longer in sight. Shots rang off. Jackson was hit and he hit the floor. The crew of 5 grabbed a few pounds of marijuana and ran to the car being driven by Danisha. The neighbor told the police that she saw the shooting and saw everyone running off with big bags, jumping into a car parked up the street. Fast forwarding to the day of Tyrell's arrest, he left his girlfriend's house going to the store, despite her pleading with him to stay in the house because he has a warrant. Tyrell was driving and an officer recognized his face from a wanted poster. The officer arrested Tyrell, and weeks after, his co-defendants except for the unknown 6th defendant. In the end, everyone blamed Tyrell and said he created the plan, which got him 65 years on the table. But once the judge realized Tyrell was the only one not from Elkhart, he handed down the best sentence he could, which was 45 years because the law wouldn't allow him to give anything lesser. 4 of the co-defendants were moved to different prisons to keep away from retaliation from Tyrell. Tyrell has now left Elkhart prison and was sent to a new prison 5 years later due to the prison accidentally putting a co-defendant who wrote a false statement on Tyrell into Elkhart prison. People have been wondering who the 6th co-defendant was. My sources say the 6th co-defendant didn't care that Jackson family had a stronghold on Elkhart and he continued to run the streets of Elkhart doing as he pleased. Sources say the 6th was beaten until his body was broken and shot and disposed of somewhere in a field in Elkhart. Tyrell was a good friend of mine, and it bothers me he didn't listen to me, but what done is done. He's trying to get an appeal, so if you would like to donate to his books, you can cash at me and I'll send a money order. You can also send me your letters and I'll send it to him. I can't give out his location due to Brandon Jackson's family, who still wanted to get some get back. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Just noticed this story was true. This really was a good friend of mine. I tried to stop him before he made the decision to go down to Indiana. And sometimes this is just how life is. It's your boy Cooper, my channel about love, life, and loyalty. And some of my homies say knowledge, wisdom, understand me. Catch y'all on the next one.